Amid the Russia-Ukraine war, India stood steadfast as far as its diplomatic policy is concerned, which is to put our national interests first. And amid that, there have been a lot of questions being asked about India importing Russian oil. Here's a befitting response that's come in from External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. During the 2+2 dialogue and in the media interaction, he was asked about this, about India purchasing Russian oil, to which Jaishankar responded, saying India's total purchases of Russian oil for 1 month was less than what Europe does in one afternoon. Jaishankar goes on to ask the media, why don't you ask these questions of Europe as well? The United States, meanwhile, has once again spoken out about this, saying we're encouraging countries not to purchase additional energy supplies from Russia. Every country is differently situated, has different needs and requirements. But the big breakthrough, really, of the dialogue is the fact that the United States has also conceded that India is not violating any of the sanctions by importing Russian oil. The only request that's coming from the United States to India is that don't buy any more additional Russian resources, any more additional Russian oil. Listen in to exactly what Jaishankar said first.
We have made a number of statements which outline our position in the UN, in our parliament and in other forums. And briefly, what those positions state is that we are against the conflict. We are for dialogue and diplomacy. We are for urgent cessation of violence, and we are prepared to contribute in whatever way to these objectives. I noticed you refer to oil purchases. If you are looking at energy purchases from Russia, I would suggest that your attention should be focused on Europe, which probably we do buy some energy which is necessary for our energy security, but I suspect, looking at the figures, probably our total purchases for the month would be less than what Europe does in an afternoon.
When it comes to oil purchases, sanctions, etc., I just note that there are carve-outs for energy purchases. Of course, we're encouraging countries not to purchase additional energy supplies from Russia. Every country is differently situated, has different needs, requirements, but we're looking to allies and partners not to increase their purchases of Russian energy.
Let's take this across now to Kamaljeet Sandhu. She's joining us live with more details on this. Kamaljeet, good morning. You know, since the start of this war, as far as India's stand is concerned, with its oldest ally of Russia versus another strong ally, the United States, we've taken a very, very clear approach of putting our interests first. And while there's been some criticism doing the rounds, questioning India over the import of Russian oil, S. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister in the United States, has set the record straight, saying very clearly, if you're asking these questions of us, first ask this of Europe.
Well, absolutely. India has done the tightrope walk, and there have been comparisons done as to why there should be pressure on India when Europe is actually taking oil and energy even from Russia. So that has been made now very clear, and perhaps United States is of that understanding. However, they have reiterated that there should be no further purchase of energy from Russia. But remember, India's own interest as far as buying cheap energy or cheap oil is concerned is obviously for the benefit of its citizens. What is also important is the tone and the tenor which was set by the talk of President Joe Biden with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And even though Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was speaking in Hindi, talked about Bucha killings without even naming Russia, saying there should be an independent probe. What is very important is that India has set its stand, maintaining a neutrality of sorts, and we've seen a tug of war really play out. First, we saw Foreign Minister of Russia, Lavrov, being here in India. We've seen different countries now pursuing India for its stance in specifics, because we are close partners of United States. We've seen earlier in March, that's when Joe Biden has spoken, and now we know that in Japan, in the next month, there will be a further meeting. But India reiterating its strong stance, saying they're condemning the civilian killings in Ukraine. They've also talked about how they've carried out massive, as far as assistance is concerned, in terms of medicine and other essential supplies to Ukraine, and more cargo will be sent in coming time. But what is important is the sectors in which US and India at this point of time are collaborating, whether it's on energy, whether it's on space, whether it's on education. All this becomes very, very important and significant. Now, the stakes are high as far as US is concerned and the NATO forces are concerned. They are obviously keenly pursuing India, trying to put pressure on them to have a more defiant stance as far as Russia is concerned.
Right.
But India so far has toed a very tough line as far as its stance is concerned and maintained its neutrality at the highest level.
That's right. Kamalji, thank you for joining us with all of those details. I just want to play out exactly what the External Affairs Minister said there. Mr. Jaishankar was asked a question about India importing oil from Russia. Here's what his response was.
We have made a number of statements which outline our position in the UN, in our parliament, and in other forums. And briefly, what those positions state is that we are against the conflict. We are for dialogue and diplomacy. We are for urgent cessation of violence. And we are prepared to contribute in whatever way to these objectives. I noticed you refer to oil purchases. If you are looking at energy purchases from Russia, I would suggest that your attention should be focused on Europe, which probably we do buy some energy which is necessary for our energy security. But I suspect, looking at the figures, probably our total purchases for the month would be less than what Europe does in an afternoon.